Hello, welcome back to the show. This is ShaunSpins, and I'm your host, Shaun, and this is episode 15. What do we got going on today?
We got a contest.
A contest? Well, I've won a few contests in my time. I won a coloring contest when I was little, won me a He-Man figure. I also did very well in an ice cream eating contest when I was like 5. What kind of contest we got?
Vinyl community contest.
A vinyl community contest.
It's from Randy's channel.
From Randy Nelson?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, we're going to need a different title then. Let's get started.
It's Randy's People, Places, and Music Contest.
This contest from Randy Nelson really got my attention. I didn't feel like it was a contest. I felt like it was homework, and I really got into it. Seems to be a few contests going around the vinyl community, yet this one got my attention. I have to tell you, the first couple times I heard people use VC for the vinyl community, I got a little confused. I thought they were saying VD, and I was a little confused where I was. Well, let's get into the contest prompts, or like I said, it felt like homework. I even made notes for myself, and I've been working on this for a couple days, thinking back, and it was like homework. It was fun. Prompt number 1. I got my notes here. Number 1, an artist from your hometown or area, region. Prompt number 2, an album about your city, state, region. Prompt number 3, an album or a song about a destination you've been to or a destination you want to go to. That one was interesting with everything going on with COVID. It made me think back to a few places I've been to or where I would love to go to in the future. So that one was interesting with everything going on right now. I really enjoyed the first prompt too, thinking about where I grew up. Well, let's get into the album selections. So let's get started with prompt number 1. An artist from your hometown, region, area, state. I got my homework list here too, Randy. This was a fun one for me. I grew up in the state of Florida. A lot of bands, a lot of musicians. We could go with Sam and Dave, Tom Petty, River Phoenix, lived in Central Florida. It's a lot of different people to pick. I even thought of the band Creed. I am not a fan of Creed, and I remember in college we were at a restaurant and they had a little plaque above the booth. It either said Creed ate at this restaurant or sat at this booth, and I remember thinking, let's get out of this place. I thought of the band Game. This is a band my dad was really into, and they're from Florida, and the cover of this album even reminds me of South Florida. It looks like a highwayman painting with those purple grape and red cherry sunset. Game even has a connection to Eric Clapton. One of the musicians went on to play with Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton recorded Derek and the Dominoes in Miami with Duane Allman from the Allman Brothers from Florida. There's another band I almost went with, the Allman Brothers. Eric Clapton's album 461 Ocean Boulevard, not a favorite of mine, yet I always liked the cover. I would look at the cover growing up because it looked very similar to the neighborhood I grew up in. And I even remember there was a guitar store I used to go to as a teenager, and the person that owned it worked there. I believed he owned it. He knew Eric Clapton and worked with him. So the person, though, I ended up going with is Jaco Pastorius. And I know some people might say, well, didn't Jaco Pastorius grow up in Pennsylvania? And he was born up here, and I live in Pennsylvania now. Yet at a young age, he moved to Florida, similar to my father. And Jaco Pastorius, we pretty much grew up in the same area. And I relate a lot to the area he grew up in. I know the area, and I know the places he's been to and things like that. And I ended up going with Jaco Pastorius, too, for another big reason. Jaco Pastorius takes in all the influence of all the music of that area in South Florida and puts it into his music. And I feel for myself, the music that comes from me and the art that comes from me is a big part of all the influences of everything I was around in Florida, in that particular area of South Florida. Now, I went with an album from the Weather Report, Heavy Weather. Now, some people might say it's the entire band from Florida, Shaun. Well, the track I went with is Teen Town. And not only does Jaco Pastorius play bass on that track, he also plays the drums. And there is a definite influence of Florida in the rhythm, and then, like I said, Jaco Pastorius, an amazing bass guitar player, amazing musician. Let's get into the second prompt. Let's go back to our homework notes here. Prompt number 2, an album about city, state, region. Now, I went a little different on this one. I was born and raised in Florida from the first prompt. However, I've been living in Pennsylvania for some time now, in Philadelphia. So I went with Philadelphia. A lot of different artists to pick from, albums to pick from. However, I decided to go with one in particular and one song. I went with the album The Roots, Things Fall Apart. And the song is You Got Me. Now, originally, Jill Scott sings on it, and she's from here, and so are the Roots. Yet she was taken off, and from what I heard, she was taken off because at the time, she wasn't very well known yet, so was replaced with Erykah Badu. So the version I went with is Dave Chappelle's Block Party, because Jill Scott's on it again. Not only the Roots are singing with Jill Scott, yet Erykah Badu too. It's great because it's a live version. It's great because Jill Scott's back on it. It's amazing. This song does reference an Ethiopian queen from Philly and being back in Philly. That's why I went with it for prompt number 2. I feel as though it has this great Philadelphian feel to it. We got one more prompt to do. Last prompt for my homework. Tell you, Randy, it felt just like a homework assignment. Prompt number 3. Album, a song about a destination you've been to or a place you want to go to. This was interesting with everything going on with COVID. I've been home social distancing here, and I haven't really traveled much in my life. I've always been working. However, I one time did go to Austin, Texas. I took the family there a couple of years ago, say about 3 years ago. It was amazing. One of the things I found amazing about Austin, Texas, seemed to be live music everywhere. At one point, I thought live music would be in CVS and Walgreens because it seemed like everywhere I went, there was live music. It was amazing. It's incredibly hot down there, yet being raised in Florida, I was pretty much okay with the heat. Another thing I thought was amazing about Austin, Texas was the music stores. They had sections for Daniel Johnston and a section for the Butthole Surfers. You don't find that a lot in music stores, and that was great. And I look forward to going back to Austin, Texas when everything from COVID gets better. I can imagine the music scene will be just thriving again. I mean, it really was amazing. There's live music just everywhere. Oh, one last thing. Amazing vegan barbecue. How often do you hear that line? Where do you get good vegan barbecue? Austin, Texas. It was amazing. So one of the albums I almost went with was Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble, Live Alive. I have that on record and on cassette. Just about wore out that cassette growing up. I used to ride around on my bicycle all the time listening to it. And part of that is recorded in Austin, Texas. And Stevie Ray Vaughan pretty much got his start in Austin, Texas. New York City, another destination. I've been there a bunch of times. I have family from there, and there's a bus here that goes right up there. Doesn't cost a lot of money. I love New York City. There's so many people up there from different places in the world. It's just great. So I almost went with the Ramones, Rocket to Russia. No, I don't want to go to Russia. Yet the Ramones, Sheena's a punk rocker. Joey Ramone's song talks about New York City. So I almost went with that. Yet finally I decided on a place I would like to go to. And there's a place for about the last almost 30 years that I would love to go to. And it is Bali. Seems like just a wonderful, beautiful place. So the song I went with was Porno for Pyro's Bali Eyes. Originally heard it on this CD, Music for Our Mother Ocean, Mom. This partly was done with Surfrider Foundation. That's how I found out about Surfrider Foundation. And it's all about helping the ocean and the environment It's great. It's probably an early pure cardboard sleeve too for the environment too, which is great. A lot of the songs deal with the ocean, beach life, and it reminds me of growing up in Florida. Well, Bally Eyes is on this from Porno for Pyros, which originally comes from this album. Let's go over here. I got it on CD. This is Good God's Urge from Porno for Pyros. It's the last track on it. Also have it on cassette. It's one of the few times I think the cassette's artwork actually looks better than the record. It fits better on the cassette tape than the record. Who remembers the days almost like when cassettes would almost have a little square on it for what the vinyl would look like. So it'd be like this little tiny picture. Oh man. This song is really good. I feel as though even if Perry didn't sing on it, just the guitar work and the music is beautiful. Makes Bali feel like just a wonderful place. Song also reminds me of Florida, just the flow to it. Another band I almost went with was Toots doing their version of Country Roads. Instead of saying West Virginia, they say West Jamaica. I almost went with that song, and that song reminds me of where I grew up too. That's a good song for my destination. I would love to go to Bali. I'm not exactly sure what Perry's singing about in there. This is the feeling I get from the song. Just a beautiful scene. This is in Bali. The colors are outrageous. The nature, the landscape. I feel as though Perry has a little bit of a drug influence in the lyrics. Yet I do not do drugs or condone them. So to me, the song always has more of a feeling of just a landscape, a beautiful landscape of just Bali. It makes me feel like being in Bali. Very peaceful, very flowing scene, an ocean landscape. So for me, it's just the guitar work and stuff. It's not as heavy as other Porno for Pyro songs. Like Stephen Perkins' drumming in that band is amazing. His drumming in Jane's Addiction is amazing too. Yet Bally Eyes just has a really easygoing feel to it, and it just feels like an island. It's a great song. Well, that's about it for my homework for Randy's contest. I really enjoyed this, or as I like to call the contest, People, Places, and Music contest. Well, until next time, hope everybody's safe and well, and be nice to each other.